By filling it full of water, we will have displaced as much leftover propane vapor as possible. So if I fill it right up, we'll just have a little bit. That reduces my chance of dying considerably. It's up to you how much risk you want to take.
Hello and welcome to, well, Carlin's Worlds. Yeah, that should work. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, sometimes a nomad, a military veteran. I do things differently. There will be tinkering. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. I live off-grid, so there will be some solar, batteries, inverters, and maybe even some wind. It blows. And that's all I can fit into about 30 seconds. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Cool. On with the show already.
Alright, sorry about the background noise. I got the generator going. So what we've got going on here, I've already taken the side scoop off. Earlier I broke the overflow tank for the coolant. Comes off the radiator. So I've been running this Powerade bottle for probably 6 months now. Finally a rock came up and poked a hole in the bottom, so it's been leaking on my shoe or my boot lately. You got the discoloration back here. And so obviously I'm not going to replace the factory tank. While I'm looking at it, just this will be a heads up for you if you ever run into this. This fuse here, or this is a fuse here, that is for your fan on the radiator on the other side. So this is where they put the fuse. It's just a couple screws. It's easy to get to, but you'll never find it if you don't know where to look. So yeah, you just take off your side scoop and then the fuse is right there. It's pretty easy to find and fix once you know where to start looking. I was kind of looking around. I thought, well, I could just grab another bottle and it'll last for a while. I can make a shield for it or whatever. Realistically, by the time this is in use, it's boiling hot. It's the Powerade bottle is not well suited to that temperature range. It does get soft a little bit, but it actually worked quite well for quite a while. I ride 100 miles a day, so this isn't like an occasional once in a while. This is my daily commuter. So it has worked, you know, so if you get in a bind, that does work pretty well. And what I did, I had some clear tubing that just happens to friction fit over the existing tubing. I was like, that's awesome. So I just stuck them in here. One is an overflow and one comes from the radiator or something like that. Or one is at the top of the radiator, one's at the bottom, I forget. Anyway, so when it gets too hot, it blows coolant into here, fills it up, and then when the bike cools down again, it sucks it back into the radiator. All right. So that actually has worked pretty well, except for the fact that it started to leak. Okay. But you know, moving on, and this was literally held on. I don't think I even zip tied it. I think I just went around with electrical tape. And at the time I did this, I wasn't even riding the bike anymore. This was after, oh, let me think. At some point I broke a chain on the highway and walked 20 miles before I got a ride. It was just a freaking mess. I was kind of burned out on the bike for a while, so I quit riding it. And then I kind of pieced things together again. I was just going to ride around on the ranch, and then when I moved jobs and got closer, I started riding the bike again, and I kind of just, this was here, but I just didn't worry about it kind of thing. And it's worked reasonably well for this long. So I'm thinking, what do I have that I could replace? It's about the same size and would stand up to the temperature a little better and be a little bit more resistant to damage from stones, because, you know, we're right here next to the front tire, right? And the original tank did have a plastic shield in front of it, okay, but I dropped the bike a couple times and eventually broke the tank. That's why they sell the nice big crash guards for the sides, which is a good idea. I just don't have them. So I'm like, what do I got that's plentiful and easy and cheap? And I came up with this. Now I can seriously say this is a bad idea. Don't do this, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. So it's about the right size. This is a 1 pound propane canister that's mostly empty. My plan, drill a couple holes in here and then run the tubes in, and then what I'm thinking, once I've got the holes in it, I'm gonna fill it full of water so that I get all the propane out. Pretty much the vapors are gone anyway, but Drill slow, hopefully no sparks, you know, no massive explosions, that kind of thing. But it's about the right size, it'll go in the same spot. What I want to do is see if I can come up with a clever way to weld some tabs onto here and possibly attach it to original holes, like here and here. If not, I'll just go back and tape it, because that's worked out well enough for this one. And just go with that. So this will just be, you know, it's about the right color even. How about that? This is, you may know this, you may not. The 1 pound propane canisters are actually the same size of fitting as your propane torches are. Alright. So just to be sure, this is actually an empty one. See if I can burn any more off of it. So open it up, listen for a hiss. A little bit. It was just air pressure from being warm as much as anything, so it's probably not even going to light. Okay, basically there's nothing in there. I got a little hiss in the beginning, so we might have some vapor, but it's not enough to pressurize. Alright. These are Schrader valves, like what is on a tire. A proper valve core removal tool. I could spin that out. Let it vent for a while. The one I have for my motorcycle won't go down inside that. This is set up so that it'll vent if it gets too hot. So it would blow out the pressure, basically. So it might be in there backwards. I don't remember. I'm just figuring, okay, it's easier to work with if it doesn't try to run away on me. So I'll clamp it down. I'm going to do a little hole for a pilot hole first. If I had an easy way to fill that full of water, I probably would do it. I'm just going to brace up a little bit and turn slow so it doesn't go walking all over. Alright. Oh yeah, I'm wearing my safety glasses if that makes any difference. Okay. In the interest of saving my face, I'll just put my hand in front of it. How about that? We didn't die. I'm going to go a little bit of ways and make another one. Having tempted the fates enough, I'm going to fill it full of water now. And then we can do the big holes. By filling it full of water, we will have displaced as much leftover propane vapor as possible. So if I fill it right up, we'll just have a little bit. That reduces my chance of dying considerably. It's up to you how much risk you want to take. Holes are too small, the air barely comes out, so I maybe wouldn't bother shooting video of this, but if I do get a big fireball, it'd be kind of fun to see it. Something to watch when you're in the hospital waiting for your skin to grow back. Drill slow, don't build up too much heat, you know, just in case. All right. I guess my way of looking at it out here is there is risk, and you can do your best to avoid the risk or to minimize the risk, but there's always going to be something. So let's put that up there. It's a handy jig that just happened to be there. I'm going to do my best to flush this thing out because I don't want to have any shavings getting into my cooling system on the bike. So, okay, here we go. Should be less explosion risk now because it's full of water. Nice. I'm going to have to deburr that so I don't shred my little tube later. Drill's easy though. Aw. Making a mess. Alright. What I was trying to do is not have too much down pressure so that it wouldn't do that.
don't know your own strength. We win! Okay, I think I'm going to hit it with a stepper bit just to clean that up a little bit. I think what I'll do when I put the tubing through, I'll just put a little bit of tape around it to protect the tubing from the sharp edges. Okay, I'm going to take this and swish it around and then dump it out on the nearest cactus, and we're basically done. Alright, check my size first. I think we're okay though. One of these is short, it's the overflow, and then the other one will draw from the bottom. Yeah, that'll be fine. And I was looking at, I was considering welding tabs on here, and the more I think about it, I don't really need to, because I got a part of the bracing here. Oops, did I do that? There we go. Yeah, I just dropped my tube inside. Wonderful. Okay, we'll fish that out in a minute. But I've got this part of the brace down here. Is that even visible? Okay, so rather than getting all crazy and welding on here, which I don't mind the risk of welding, I've already got all the propane out, but it'll sit on the bottom part of the brace. So it's just a matter of holding it in place, and the electrical tape worked wonderfully last time, so I'm just going to stay with that. And I'll set myself up so that the tubes are kind of pulled back a little bit. Now I've got something that's durable, the rocks won't break it. If I ever have a problem with this, I've got about 14 more of them that I can use, so I'm not going to run out of propane canisters out here. So now I got to fish that tube out that just fell inside. Started here. From an earlier, probably from the Gatorade bottle or the Powerade bottle, I put a piece of rubber tubing on there to protect the bottle. Leave it there. Let's see, about there looks good. Tuck it back as far as we can. I am aware of the fender being pretty close, but I think we're all right. Yeah, fender's nowhere. Alright, move a little bit. I think we got good clearance. Oh yeah, lots of room, no problem. Good. The only thing I don't have is a sight gauge, so I can't really see my level. And since this was the only place that leaked, if we eliminate this leak, we shouldn't have to worry, right? Just kidding, but you know what I mean. I remember being pretty amazed when I realized that electrical tape was actually made for doing electrical repairs and stuff. I'd seen the electrical tape used for, let's see, fixing axe handles, wrapping around your hammer handle, anti-chafing kind of situations. I was pretty amazed when you can actually use it for its electrical insulation properties.
more than I had on the last time, and that lasted over 6 months and never broke, so I think that's probably good enough. If you make it too strong, it'll break something else. I'm going to put a quick wrap around just so that the tubing doesn't chafe on the rough edge. Seems prudent. And this is not high temperature tubing anyway, so it is what it is. Basically, I grabbed it because it fit. That's about as far as I got. Good. Also, I don't have to worry about this pressurizing because I did leave a little air gap. I don't know if that's a big deal or not, but and this was just a nice friction fit over the rubber. It's pretty handy. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this before I stick this tube in. And that's kind of what I'm looking at is it's easy to pull the tube out and look in there. Even with the scoop on, I can still see into that fairly well. So it's not as nice as the clear tank, but it'll work. And since we had some in the old one already, look at that, a funnel that fits. Good to go. Without a sight gauge, I'll full defill it, right? I'll give it a little bit more water. Rainwater, that's got to be about as pure as it gets, right? Don't need to fill it all the way up. I want to make sure it's high enough that the suction hose still reaches. I think that's about right. That went remarkably well, all things considered. That'll work. Done. Yeah, as much as I like the idea of welding something on there, it seems kind of silly, so. Last look to make sure it doesn't hit something. Oh yeah, we got inches there, no problem. No problem at all. Scoops attach one to the tank, two to here, and then it uses a rubber grommet here. Right. Mistake I usually make is I look in here and I take the screw out instead of taking the bolt out on the end of the bracket. So if you do that, slap yourself or whatever. Then you got to figure out which way it went. You can usually see a clean spot. So put the screw back in, and then, because that's harder to get to. I'm not sure why they did it this way, but I'm sure there was a reason. But the screw has a lock nut that's got the serrations on it. So put that back on. You might have to leave it a little bit loose so that your other one will connect. So these are Phillips screws, at least on this bike. And then through the other end is an 8mm that goes into a captive nut on the end of this bracket here. And that is much easier to put on if you've got an 8mm socket. I use a 1/4 inch socket on the end of a screwdriver handle. Okay, depending how bent your bike is which way it'll go on easier. But I never tighten anything down until I got them all started, and it's just much easier to do that. So start one. Oh yeah, and we've got just inches of clearance on this, so that tank is not a big deal at all. Alright, good. So get those two started, get the grommet in there. That one just kind of smack it in place. Yeah, we'll have no trouble at all with this. This one was a replacement screw. I think it's an M3, if I remember right. So once you start, working on your bike, you'll find all kinds of missing screws. So get yourself some replacements. I'm pretty sure that's M3, and then the ones on the fairing are M6. I don't remember exactly. Since this was into plastic, get a bigger spacer washer so you can spread the load out. Or if you can find the screws like what were supposed to be on there, they're a much wider head so it doesn't break the plastic. Don't kill it. Don't have to go in very tight. Now that I got this, the fly hasn't come back. I'm okay with that. Okay, now that the top one tight, go back to the 8mm. They are just right underneath the edge here. And then once I got these done, I'm going to go back and tighten up the screw that I took out that I shouldn't have because I knew better. Alright, so there's our tank. Just blends right in. You don't even see it's there really. It's resting on this bottom piece here, so it's not going to go anywhere. Enough electrical tape to keep it from moving. It's got some flex, but not much. And then here's your 8mm. This one's 8mm. And then inside here is the Phillips, but you don't need to undo those because you undo the 8s instead. Alright. A couple of these are leftover holes from when the original tank was here, which we're not using now. And again, the tubes are just friction fit onto the original OEM tubes. Just a happy coincidence. I think these were 3/8 inch left over from my shower, I think. Yeah, because my shower, the first shower pump I used had a 3/8 port on it instead of 1/2 inch, so I bought a bunch of this stuff. I got like 15 feet of it somewhere. So that's that. Done. We didn't even blow up or anything. Gotta love it.
Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, that should work. Cool. I do things differently. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Thank you so much for watching.